All right. Yeah. So today I'm going to give a talk on the book, Character Strengths and Virtues. But what I'm really hoping to do is to introduce this concept that our lives can be made better when we live according to our values. And as a church, that we can focus on strengthening our values. The purpose of this church is to help us answer life's big questions by using reason as a tool with the ultimate goal of making life better. Hopefully, we can have a lot of conversations about how we can make life better that then turn into concrete action steps. The mindset that is required to look for solutions and work towards progress is what we are talking about today. And that is creating a life based on our values. So I'm going to show you an image of the book, Character Strengths and Weaknesses by Martin Seligman and Christopher Peterson that came out in 2004. This is the first methodical and scientifically evidenced compendium of writings about positive psychology. Well, specifically about character strengths. And Eva gave a talk on this book about 18 months ago where she walked through the steps that they took on how they actually compiled this particular list of character strengths and virtues, which is really interesting. And I put a link to that on our Discord server. So I'm just going to wait and give you a chance to see the book. By the way, I think this book may be out of print. I was able to buy a copy for about $40, but sometimes they're on there on Amazon for like $200 and even $400, $350. If you find a copy that's under $50, I would even buy it from you. Like if you read it and you don't want to keep it in your library. Did they get shown that?
I think so. Can you guys see the book?
Do you see the copy of the book? And that's Martin Seligman there? No.
Okay.
Well, it's okay. We really don't need to see the picture of the book. It says, I've only got 3 slides, and the second slide is the one you kind of have to see. There, Eva's got the book. Nice. You can see
that's
Eva.
Low-tech
that's exactly what it looks like. Character Strengths and Virtues. It's got a brown cover. Okay. So, in the same way that the DSM, or the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, is a book about what we know about mental disorders, this is a book about so mental disorders are maladaptive behaviors that make life miserable, or at least more difficult than they need to be. And by contrast, the Character Strengths and Virtues, or CSV, is about what we know about adaptive behaviors that can lead us to a good life. And it is an evidence-based theoretical framework. Eva gave a whole talk about how it was researched and developed. So for those of you who are critical thinkers out there, I want you to know that this is really research-backed stuff. And I put a link to the talk that Eva gave in our Discord server. Character Strengths and Virtues is about what we know about adaptive behaviors that lead us to have a good life. The good life is a concept from Plato. In ancient Greece, it was called eudaimonia. Plato thought eudaimonia depended on 4 virtues. I took the summary from Catherine Moore's blog. These are the virtues Plato thought led to a good life. First, temperance, or moderation, also called self-regulation, to avoid vices and corruption caused by excess. Second, courage, or fortitude, the ability to stand up for what we believe is right and good. Third, justice, a social consciousness that plays a key part in maintaining societal order. And fourth, wisdom, or prudence, and that is the pursuit of knowledge or practical wisdom. So it goes all the way back to Plato, but in 2004, this book came out, and Seligman and Peterson came up with 7 virtues. They're pretty much the classical virtues if you were ever a Catholic or heard about the virtues, and the 24 character strengths. So the idea is to improve the quality of life or well-being of an individual or society by looking at the character traits which motivate one to do adaptive behaviors. And we know that a character trait is present because we will see evidence of it in the presence of adaptive behaviors. I'm going to just kind of pause for a moment. They see this slide now?
No, let me try.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to put up a slide right now that shows the 7 virtues, which are wisdom and knowledge, humanity, justice, temperance, transcendence, and courage. And then kind of breaks down, if you have wisdom and knowledge, you would have a love of learning, perspective, judgment, creativity, curiosity. Okay, Seligman and Peterson came up with 7 virtues and 24 character strengths. Oh, I think I'm repeating that. In this book, Seligman and Peterson look at the factors that contribute to the development and expression of character strengths and virtues in the individual and society. They discovered that character strengths and virtues are habitual patterns that are relatively stable over time. So as an aside, here at Seattle Atheist Church, we've also done quite a bit of book work from the book Tiny Habits, which is based on the research of B.J. Fogg, who's a behavioral scientist at Stanford. And you can change your habitual patterns. There's a way to do it, and most people do it. They don't know how to do it. So if you want to learn how to do it, Seattle Atheist Church is the right place. And particularly sometimes we'll run an accountability circle and people can work on changing something, basing it on the research of B.J. Fogg. Okay, so character strengths and virtues can be nurtured by societal norms and institutions. And what I want to say here is that Seattle Atheist Church aims to be one of those institutions that can actually promote the development and strengthening of these virtues and character strengths. So the virtues may be absent in some individuals, but these traits can be nurtured for almost all people, including sociopaths. Sociopaths have a conscience and can empathize with their victims and feel remorse for their antisocial behavior. So even people with a history of maladaptive thought patterns and antisocial behavior can become better people when they work to develop their character strengths. Okay. Now, psychopaths are a different thing. They're extremely rare. Their brains are actually different, and they have a lack of ability to empathize. And so maybe not. That's a different thing. But for people like us, we have an opportunity to take the development of our positive character strengths to the next level. And the purpose of the CSV is to spell out what these strengths are and what is known about how to cultivate them or under what circumstances they're revealed. Okay, so let me direct you to the slide that's in front of you. I don't know if it's in front of you right now. I want to give you a chance to kind of look at the 7 virtues and then some of the associated character strengths so you kind of understand what I'm talking about here. Take a virtue like wisdom, which they call wisdom and knowledge on this slide. Something like having experience, knowledge, good judgment are part of developing wisdom. Okay, courage is something like, they call it here zest, bravery, honesty, and perseverance. Oh, sorry. Courage is something like strength in the face of pain, grief, or fear. Humanity is something like kindness, justice, concern for what is fair and morally right. Temperance is doing most things in moderation and abstaining from doing things that are harmful to oneself. And Transcendence, that's the one most people are like, what is Transcendence? I think I know what the other things are, but I don't know what Transcendence is. But Transcendence is moving into an exalted state, such as when you contemplate beauty, perhaps spend time in nature and feel a sense of majestic wonder, or are listening to music and feel yourself transported. So that's what Transcendence is. And it's really cultivating appreciation of beauty and excellence, having a deep sense of gratitude, which is something that can be practiced, and also remaining hopeful. Each of these virtues breaks down into 4 or 5 characteristics, and which are the corresponding character strengths. There are 24 in all of the character strengths. And each of these characteristics can be described by 2 or more adjectives or describing words, as you see on your screen there. For example, the virtue of courage requires the strengths of bravery and honesty, which requires valor, or not running away from doing or saying what is right, even in the face of fear, and even when it is a hard thing to do. And also, it requires vulnerability, authenticity, and integrity. Okay, the virtue of humanity requires social awareness and kindness, which requires an awareness of other people's feelings and motives, and care and compassion for other conscious beings, and kindness, generosity, and nurturance. Each of these character strengths would be excellent to study and to work on increasing. And we'd like this work to become shared knowledge for people at our church, for us to get thinking about how can we help ourselves develop wisdom, courage, humanity, justice, temperance, and transcendence. Okay, in a moment we're going to have a little discussion, and I'm hoping that we could talk about what is the quality within yourself that you would most like to develop, either because you think it's already a strength, but you want to strengthen it further, playing to your strengths, or because it's something that you feel like you're a little bit weak on. And so you want to figure out a way to actually develop it, pay attention each day to upping that strength. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is, for me, even the work, you may notice we do a lot of work on communication skills here. We give talks on crucial conversations, for example. Our board right now is reading a couple of books, one of which is called Supportive Accountability. And so the ability to communicate, I feel, is extremely important to be able to do all these other things. And the ability to communicate so that we can create a call-in culture as opposed to a call-out culture. So I have as a question for you to contemplate, how does strengthening our ability to communicate effectively by using logic and calling in as opposed to calling out help us become a more moral community? All right, Steve is going to get us set up to do our discussion now. And as I say, this is going to be edited out of the video, so you can feel free to be vulnerable and share honestly. So remember, that first question was, what quality within yourself would you like to work on developing more? Okay.
All right. Let's give a round of applause to today's speaker. Please feel free to unmute yourself so they can hear. Thank you, Ruth.